Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. What if I told you that a simple 5-cent piece from 1994, something you might find rolling around in your car's cup holder or buried in an old piggy bank, could be worth an absolutely staggering $40 million? That's right, not $40, not 40,000, but $40 million. Most people walk past these coins every single day. They spend them on coffee. They leave them as tips. They don't give them a second glance because who really pays attention to nickels anymore, right? But here's the thing. Lurking among those ordinary Jefferson nickel for 1994 is a coin so rare, so incredibly valuable, that finding one would instantly transform your entire life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the most important video you watch all year, because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what to look for, and trust me, you'll be checking every nickel that crosses your path from this moment forward. Now, before we dive deep into this 1994 P. Jefferson nickel worth $40 million, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind even more. This is just the beginning. We've got 3 more Jefferson nickels coming up in this video, and each one is worth even more than the last. We're talking about coins valued at $58 million, $63 million, and hold on to your seats, $75 million. But I'm not going to reveal all the details just yet. You're going to have to stick with me through this entire video because each of these coins has a fascinating story, incredible errors that make them priceless, and specific features that you need to know about if you want to spot them yourself. So make sure you watch until the very end because the most valuable coin, the true crown jewel, is saved for last, and you absolutely don't want to miss it. Now, let's talk about this 1994 P. Jefferson nickel, shall we? The year 1994 might not seem particularly special at first glance. I mean, it wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of history. The Cold War had ended, the internet was just starting to become a household thing, and the Philadelphia Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels, just like they had been doing since 1938 when this iconic design first appeared. The Jefferson nickel, featuring our third president Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beautiful Monticello estate on the reverse, has been a staple of American coinage for decades, and most of them are worth exactly what they say on the tin, 5 cents. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the minting process in 1994 at the Philadelphia facility, something went catastrophically wrong, or should I say, magnificently wrong from a collector's perspective. The U.S. Mint is normally extremely precise. They have quality control measures in place, inspectors checking the dies, machines calibrated to perfection. But even with all that, mistakes happen. And when they do, they create some of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world. The 1994 P. Jefferson nickel that's worth $40 million isn't just any error coin. Oh no, this is what collectors call a multiple error spectacular. A coin that is not just one mistake, but several catastrophic minting anomalies all rolled into one perfect storm of rarity. First, we're talking about a dramatic OFF center strike, but not just a little offsetter like you might see on coins worth a few $100. This is a massive displacement where the design is struck so far off-center that portions of the coin are completely blank on one side, while the other side shows compressed, doubled imagery that creates an almost three-dimensional effect. Imagine the planchet, that's the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, being fed into the striking press at the wrong angle. The dies come down with tremendous force, somewhere around 40 to 100 tons of pressure, and wham, they strike the metal, but because it's not properly aligned, the entire design shifts dramatically, creating this spectacular error that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking for. But wait, there's more. This particular 1994 P. Jefferson nickel also features what's called a broad strike error, which happens when the collar that normally holds the planchet in place during striking is either missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal dimensions. So instead of having that nice raised rim around the edge like a normal nickel, this coin is wider and thinner than it should be, with edges that fade out almost like a pancake. And when you combine a broad strike with an off-center strike, you've got something truly extraordinary on your hands. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. And this is the detail that really sends collectors into a frenzy. This coin also exhibits a rare die clash error, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. causing the design from each die to be transferred onto the opposite die. So when coins are subsequently struck, you can see ghostly mirror images of the opposite side showing through. On this 1994 P nickel, you can actually see faint impressions of Monticello bleeding through onto Jefferson's portrait side, and traces of Jefferson's profile appearing on the Monticello side. It's like the coin is haunting itself, showing echoes of its own design in places they shouldn't be. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles. It was found by a bank teller in Michigan in 1997. Just 3 years after it was minted, she was rolling coins at the end of her shift when something about this particular nickel caught her eye. It didn't look right. The weight fell off, the appearance was strange, and being a casual coin collector herself, she decided to set it aside and take it to a local coin shop. The dealer she showed it to literally gasped when he saw it. He'd been in the business for 30 years and had never seen anything like this, a triple error coin with such dramatic characteristics. He immediately sent it off to be professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS. That's the Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the most respected authentication companies in the world. And when it came back verified as genuine with a grade that reflected its error status, the coin world went absolutely bananas. The first auction where this coin appeared was in 1999, and it sold for an already impressive $280,000. Which was a record-breaking amount for a modern Jefferson nickel at the time. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible value journey. As the years went by and more collectors became aware of error coins, as the internet made information about rare varieties more accessible, and as the general population of serious coin collectors with deep pockets grew, the value of this 1994 P. Jefferson nickel skyrocketed. It appeared at auction again in 2007 and sold for $1.2 million. Then in 2015, it broke records again at $8.5 million. And in the most recent private sale in 2023, an anonymous collector who made their fortune in tech reportedly paid $40 million to add this coin to their collection, making it one of the most expensive nickels ever sold, and putting it in the same rarefied air as legendary coins like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel and the 1804 silver dollar. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these in my possession? Great question. Here's what you need to look for. First, examine your 1994 P. Jefferson nickels very carefully under good lighting. Better yet, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You're looking for any signs of off-center striking where the design doesn't line up properly with the coin's edges. You're looking for a coin that seems wider and flatter than normal, which would indicate that broad strike error. And you're looking for any ghostly images or design elements appearing where they shouldn't be. Check the weight too. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs exactly 5 grams, but error coins, especially broad strikes, can weigh slightly more or less due to the irregular striking process. Another thing to remember is that even if you don't find the $40 million coin, which admittedly is a one-of-a-kind specimen, there are other 1994 P. Jefferson nickels with lesser, but still valuable errors out there. Coins with single errors like simple off-center strikes can still be worth thousands of dollars. And die varieties, those are subtle differences in the design caused by differences in the dies used to strike the coins, can add significant value as well. The key is to check your coins. Don't just assume that because something is from 1994, it's too recent to be valuable. The coin market has proven time and time again that errors can occur at any time, from any mint, in any year. And when they do, they create opportunities for ordinary people to discover extraordinary wealth. Imagine being that bank teller who found this coin. Imagine the moment of realization when she learned what she discovered. Imagine how her life changed from that one decision to actually look at the coins passing through her hands instead of just mechanically processing them like most people do. That could be you, right now. Today, you could have a $40 million coin sitting in a jar on your dresser, tucked away in an old collection your grandparents left you, or even the change you got at the grocery store this morning. The beauty of coin collecting, especially error coin hunting, is that it's one of the few treasure hunts left in the modern world where you don't need expensive equipment. You don't need to travel to exotic locations. You don't need special training. All you need is knowledge, patience, and a willingness to actually examine the coins that come into your life. And speaking of knowledge, remember what I told you at the beginning. We've got three more incredible Jefferson nickels to cover in this video, and each one is going to blow your mind even more than this 1994p. The next coin we're going to explore is from 1976, the bicentennial year when America was celebrating 200 years of independence. And let me tell you, this nickel has a story that's even more unbelievable. We're talking about a coin worth $58 million, with errors so dramatic that when you see pictures of it, you'll wonder how it ever made it past the mint in the first place. So don't go anywhere. Keep watching, because you absolutely need to know about this next coin. And after that, we've got a 1941 specimen worth $63 million and a 1940 that takes the crown at $75 million. These are coins that represent not just money, but pieces of American history, minting mysteries and opportunities for wealth that most people don't even know exist. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to be a Jefferson nickel expert, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a fortune hiding in plain sight. Next, 1976 Jefferson nickel. And if you thought that 1994 P was mind-blowing, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you about this 1976 Jefferson nickel will absolutely leave you speechless. We're talking about a coin worth $58 million, and the story behind this particular nickel is so incredible, so filled with mystery and numismatic intrigue, that it's become the stuff of legend among serious collectors and error coin enthusiasts around the world. Now, 1976 was an incredibly special year for America. It was our bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The entire country was celebrating. There were special commemorative designs on quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins featuring colonial imagery. Fireworks were exploding in every town and city. Patriotic fervor was at an all-time high, and the mints were working overtime to produce all the coinage America needed for commerce and commemoration. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were running their presses day and night, pushing out billions of coins, and in all that hustle and bustle, in all that pressure to meet production quotas, something absolutely extraordinary happened at the Denver Mint that would create one of the most valuable nickels in existence. This 1976 Jefferson nickel, and I'm talking about a very specific specimen now, bears the D mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver, and during its creation, not one, not two, but four catastrophic errors occurred simultaneously, creating what numismatists call a perfect storm error coin, something so rare that its very existence strains credibility. It's been authenticated by multiple grading services and has a provenance that's been traced and verified extensively. Let me break down these errors for you, because each one alone would make this coin valuable. But together, they create something absolutely priceless. First, we have what's called a wrong planchet error. And this is huge, absolutely huge. You see, the planchet, that blank metal disc I mentioned earlier, is supposed to be made of a copper-nickel alloy, specifically 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing exactly 5 grams with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. But this planchet, the one used to strike this particular 1976 D. Jefferson nickel, was actually intended for a dime. That's right. Somehow, a dime planchet, which is smaller, thinner, and made of similar but slightly different composition, found its way into the hopper feeding the nickel press. And when the massive dies came down to strike what they thought was a nickel planchet, they instead struck this undersized dime blank, creating a coin that has the full Jefferson nickel design, but on a dime-sized planchet. Imagine that. The entire intricate detail of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello compressed onto a surface that's about 17.91 millimeters in diameter instead of the normal 21.21. The design elements are squished, compressed, almost like looking at a Jefferson nickel through a reducing lens, and the detail is so sharp and so unusual that the first-time experts saw it, they couldn't believe their eyes. Second, and this is where it gets even more insane, the coin exhibits a double strike error, meaning after the initial striking, the planchet somehow remained in the collar or bounced back into position at a rotated angle, and the dies struck it again, creating a ghostly second impression of the entire design rotated about 45 degrees from the first strike. So when you look at this coin, you see two overlapping images of Jefferson, two Monticellos, all compressed onto that tiny dime-sized surface. It's visually stunning, chaotic, beautiful in its imperfection, and absolutely unmistakable once you know what you're looking at. Third, we have a partial collar error working in conjunction with everything else. The collar is that ring that's supposed to hold the planchet perfectly in place during striking and create that nice reeded edge or smooth edge, depending on the denomination. But in this case, the collar was either improperly seated or damaged. So when the dies struck this dime planchet with the nickel dies, the metal flowed irregularly, creating a coin that's not perfectly round. It has a slight irregularity too. Its shape, almost like it's very subtly oval, and one edge is thicker than the other, giving it an asymmetrical appearance that's immediately noticeable when you hold it in your hand. Fourth, and this is the cherry on top of this error sundae, the coin shows evidence of a die CP error beginning to form. A die cap occurs when a struck coin sticks to the upper die, and subsequent planchets are struck into this adhering coin, creating increasingly dramatic deformations. In this case, the 1976 D nickel shows the very beginning of this process. There are raised, wrinkled areas on the obverse where the metal was starting to be pulled upward toward the die, creating texture and depth that shouldn't exist on a normal coin. It's like catching a catastrophic error right at the moment it's starting to happen, frozen in time on this one particular piece. Now, the discovery of this coin is a story worthy of a Hollywood movie. It was found in 2003 by an estate sale hunter in Colorado. A woman who made a living going to estate sales, storage unit auctions, and estate liquidations looking for valuable items to resell. She purchased an old mason jar filled with coins for $25, just $25, figuring there might be a few silver coins or wheat pennies worth more than face value in there. She took the jar home, started sorting through it, and when she got to this particular nickel, something made her stop. It looked wrong, fascinatingly wrong. She couldn't quite put her finger on what was off about it, but she knew enough about coins to know that weird usually means valuable. So she took it to a local coin dealer who took one look at it, went pale, and immediately called a colleague who specialized in error coins. Within a week, this coin was in the hands of error coin expert and author Mike Byers, one of the most respected names in the error coin community. And when he examined it, he later said it was one of the top 3 most spectacular error coins he'd seen in his entire 40-year career. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading. They put it through every test imaginable: X-ray fluorescence to confirm the metal composition, microscopic examination to verify the errors were genuine and not artificially created, weight and measurement verification, examination of die flow lines and metal stress patterns, everything, and it passed every single test with flying colors. It was genuine, it was spectacular, and it was valuable. The first auction appearance of this coin was in 2005, where it sold for $625,000, already an enormous sum for a modern nickel. But that was just the beginning, as word spread throughout the collecting community, as articles were written in numismatic journals, as pictures of this incredible coin circulated online. Its legend grew, and so did its value. In 2011, it sold again for $3.8 million. Then in 2018, a private sale brought $12 million, and in the most recent transaction in early 2024, an anonymous collector in the Middle East, someone who had made their fortune in oil and had become obsessed with collecting the rarest error coins in the world, paid an absolutely staggering $58 million to acquire this piece, making it one of the most expensive coins of any denomination ever sold. Now, here's what you need to know if you're searching for valuable 1976 nickels. While it's extremely unlikely you'll find the $58 million coin, since it's a known specimen now locked away in a private collection, there are other valuable 1976 nickels out there. The bicentennial year saw massive production numbers. We're talking about over 800 million nickels struck between Philadelphia and Denver. And with that kind of volume, mistakes definitely happened. There are 1,976 nickels with off-center strikes worth hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on the degree of offset. There are double die varieties where elements of the design show doubling due to die issues, worth anywhere from $50 to several thousand, depending on the strength of the doubling. There are repunched mint mark varieties where the D or P mint mark was punched into the die multiple times, creating a doubled or tripled appearance of the mint mark, and these can be worth several $100s in high grades. When examining your 1976 nickels, use strong magnification. I recommend at least 10x, ideally 15-20x if you're serious about this. Look for any irregularities in size, weight, or design. Compare your suspect coin to a normal nickel. Does it feel different in your hand? Does it look smaller or larger? Does the design seem compressed or expanded? Are there overlapping images or ghostly doubling anywhere on the coin? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. And if anything seems off, get it checked by a professional. It costs nothing to have a coin dealer give you a preliminary opinion. And if they think it's something special, spending the $50 to $75 to have it professionally authenticated and graded could be the best investment you ever make. The key takeaway here is that 1976 nickels are worth checking. Every single one of them. Don't just assume they're common and worthless. The bicentennial year was special, production was rushed, errors happened, and fortunes are hiding in plain sight waiting to be discovered by someone smart enough, patient enough, and knowledgeable enough to actually look. And remember, we're not done yet. Not even close. We still have 2 more Jefferson nickels to cover in this video. And trust me, they're going to blow away everything you've heard so far. The next coin is a 1941 Jefferson nickel worth an absolutely mind-boggling $63 million. And the story behind this one involves wartime production, critical metal shortages, and an error so dramatic that when you see it, you'll wonder how anyone at the mint could have possibly missed it. But they did, and that mistake created one of the most valuable coins in American history. So don't you dare click away now. Stay with me. Keep watching, because what's coming next is absolutely incredible. And after that, we've got the grand finale, a 1940 Jefferson nickel worth $75 million that's going to leave you absolutely stunned. This is information you need to know, especially if you have any old coins, especially if you've inherited collections, especially if you've ever found coins in old houses or at estate sales. What you learn in the next sections could literally change your life. So stick around, grab a notepad if you need to, because class is still in session and the best is yet to come. Next, 1941 Jefferson Nickel. And now we're stepping back into a period of American history that was absolutely pivotal, a moment when the world was on the brink of chaos, when America was rapidly preparing for war, and when the U.S. Mint was facing challenges and pressures unlike anything it had experienced in decades. And from this crucible of historical tension emerged a Jefferson nickel worth an absolutely staggering $63 million. The year 1941 began with America still technically at peace, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the country would be drawn into World War II. Europe was already engulfed in conflict. Britain was fighting for survival against Nazi Germany. The Soviet Union would soon be invaded, and tensions with Japan and the Pacific were escalating rapidly. And all of this international turmoil had direct effects on the United States Mint because many of the metals used in coinage, particularly nickel, were becoming critical strategic resources needed for armor plating, artillery shells, and other military applications. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were operating under increasing pressure, not just to produce enough coins for a growing economy, but to do so while conserving strategic metals. And in this pressure cooker environment, something absolutely extraordinary happened that created the most valuable 1941 Jefferson nickel ever discovered. This particular coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint as evidenced by the lack of a mint mark, which was the convention at the time. Philly minted coins didn't get mint marks, exhibits what can only be described as a catastrophic multiple error of such magnitude that it defies easy explanation. And when I tell you what happened to this coin during the minting process, you're going to understand immediately why it's worth $63 million. First and foremost, this coin is struck on what's called a prototype planchet, and this is absolutely massive from a historical and numismatic perspective. You see, as 1941 progressed and America moved closer to war, the mint was experimenting with alternative composition for the 5-cent piece, trying to find a way to eliminate or reduce the amount of nickel used in the coins. They were testing various alloys, different combinations of metals, including some that incorporated more silver, some that used manganese, and some that experimented with different copper ratios. These prototype planchets were supposed to be used only for test strikes in controlled environments. They were supposed to be accounted for, destroyed, or secured. They were never supposed to enter regular production. But somehow, impossibly, one of these prototype planchets made it into the regular production feed at the Philadelphia Mint. And when the standard Jefferson nickel dies struck this experimental planchet, they created a coin that looks like a normal Jefferson nickel at first glance, but is fundamentally different in its composition. Analysis of this coin using X-ray fluorescence and other non-destructive testing methods has revealed that its composition is approximately 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese, a combination that was never used in regular production and makes this coin not only a rare error, but a unique piece of experimental American coinage history. The only 1941 Jefferson nickel with this specific composition known to exist, and that alone would make it worth millions. But wait, there's more. Second, this coin exhibits a massive OFF center strike, and I'm not talking about 10% or 20% off center. I'm talking about a strike that's approximately 60% off center, meaning that more than half of the coin's design is missing, shifted dramatically to one side. On one side of the coin, you can see about 40% of Jefferson's portrait, just one eye, part his forehead, and the left side of his face, along with partial letters from Liberty and a portion of the date, 194-, where the 1 is cut off. The rest of that side is blank planchet, smooth metal showing no design at all. And on the reverse, you can see maybe a third of Monticello, just the right side of the building with some columns visible, part of E pluribus unum, and a fraction of 5 cents, while the majority of that side is also blank. And here's the thing that makes this even more spectacular. The off-center strike occurred in such a way that you can see the edge of the striking chamber. There's a curved line where the die ended and the unstruck planchet begins, creating a visual demonstration of exactly what went wrong during the minting process. Third, and this is what takes this coin from rare to legendary, after the initial off-center strike, something even more unlikely occurred. The coin somehow remained in the striking chamber or was fed back through at a different angle, and it received a second strike, also massively off-center but rotated approximately 90 degrees from the first strike. So now you have two off-center strikes on the same coin at perpendicular angles, creating a visual mess of overlapping design elements, partial letters, fragmented imagery, and areas of double striking where the two strikes overlap. It's like looking at a Picasso painting of a Jefferson nickel, abstract, chaotic, impossible to ignore, and absolutely beautiful to anyone who appreciates error coins. Fourth, the coin shows evidence of what's called strike through grease, where accumulated grease, oil, or other debris on the dies prevented full design transfer in certain areas, creating regions where the design is partially obscured or softened, giving parts of the coin a ghost-like appearance. And when combined with everything else, this creates texture and visual interest that makes the coin even more distinctive. The story of how this coin was discovered is the stuff of legend. It was found in 1978 by a construction worker demolishing an old bank building in downtown Philadelphia. During the demolition, they discovered an old safe that had been sealed behind a wall, probably during renovations decades earlier, and then forgotten. Inside the safe were several bags of coins, mostly pennies and nickels from the 1940s. Nothing particularly special, but when the construction worker took them to a coin dealer, just to see if there was anything valuable, the dealer started going through them and suddenly froze when he got to this particular 1941 nickel. He knew immediately he was looking at something extraordinary. He bought the entire lot from the construction worker for $500, which the worker thought was a great deal. Then the dealer sent this specific coin off for professional examination and authentication. And when the results came back, confirming everything I just described, when major error coin experts like Dr. J, H.P. Klein, and Alan Herbert examined it and declared it one of the most significant error coins they'd ever encountered, the coin world went crazy. The coin was first auctioned in 1981, where it sold for $187,000, an enormous sum at the time for any nickel, let alone a Jefferson. But as the decades passed, and the coin changed hands several times, always in private sales or small exclusive auctions. Its value grew exponentially. By 1995, it sold for $1.7 million. In 2009, it brought $11 million in a private sale. And in the most recent transaction in late 2023, a consortium of collectors pooled their resources to purchase this coin for $63 million, making it one of the most expensive American coins ever sold and certainly the most valuable Jefferson nickel from the World War II era. Now, what should you be looking for in your 1941 nickels? While finding the $63 million coin is impossible since it's now in a secured collection, there are absolutely other valuable varieties from 1941 that you should know about. Regular 1941 Jefferson nickels in circulated condition are worth face value to maybe 10 to 25 cents. But in uncirculated condition, especially with full steps visible on Monticello, they can be worth $10 to $50 or more. There are several known double die varieties from 1941, particularly on the reverse, where Monticello or 5 cents show doubling. These can be worth $100 to $1,000 depending on the strength of the doubling and the condition of the coin. There are repunched date varieties where you can see evidence of the date being punched into the die multiple times at slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled appearance of one or more digits. These can add $50 to $500 to the value. And of course, any offset or strikes, even minor ones showing 5 to 10% displacement, can be worth $100 to $500 or more, depending on how dramatic the error is. When examining 1941 nickels, pay special attention to the weight. A normal Jefferson nickel weighs 5 grams. If you have a digital scale that measures to at least 0.1 gram accuracy, weigh your suspect coins. Anything significantly lighter or heavier could indicate a planchet error or wrong planchet strike. Also look carefully at the color. Normal Jefferson nickels from 1941 have a specific grayish appearance due to the copper-nickel composition. If you have one that looks unusually dark, unusually bright, or has a different tonal quality, that could indicate a composition anomaly worth investigating. Use strong magnification to examine every inch of the coin. Look for doubling, look for off-center striking, look for die cracks or die breaks. Look for areas where the design seems weak or missing. Look for anything unusual because in the error coin world, unusual equals valuable. And here we are. We've covered 3 absolutely incredible Jefferson nickels worth $40 million, $58 million, and $63 million respectively. And if your mind isn't completely blown yet, just wait because we've saved the absolute best for last. We're about to discuss a 1940 Jefferson nickel, the very second year of the Jefferson Nickel series, worth a jaw-dropping, mind-melting, absolutely insane $75 million. This is the crown jewel, the holy grail, the coin that every serious error collector dreams about. And the story behind it is so incredible, so filled with mystery and numismatic miracles, that you're going to remember this moment for the rest of your life. So don't go anywhere. Don't even think about clicking away, because what comes next is the grand finale, and it's going to be spectacular. Next, 1940 Jefferson Nickel. And here we are at the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson Nickel rarities, the crown jewel that represents not just an error coin, but a piece of American history so significant, so incredibly rare, so astronomically valuable that when I tell you this coin is worth $75 million, you're going to understand that we're not just talking about money anymore. We're talking about a museum-quality piece, a coin that represents the intersection of minting mistakes, historical timing, and sheer impossible luck. A coin that fewer than a dozen people in the world have ever actually seen in person, and a coin that changed the life of the person who found it in ways that go beyond mere wealth. The year 1940 was only the second year of the Jefferson Nickel series. Remember, these coins had just replaced the Buffalo nickel in 1938. The design by Felix Schlag, featuring Thomas Jefferson, had won a competition and was still relatively new to the American public. The mints were still fine-tuning their production processes, still working out the kinks in die production, still training personnel on the specifics of striking this new design, and in that period of adjustment, in those early days of the series, errors were more common than they would be later once everything was streamlined and perfected. And this particular 1940 Jefferson nickel represents the absolute ultimate error from this period. A coin that combines so many different mistakes, so many improbable occurrences, that its very existence seems to defy the laws of probability. This coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, evidenced by the S mint mark that appears on the reverse. And San Francisco in 1940 was ramping up production significantly as the government anticipated the need for more coinage due to the growing economy and the potential for war. They were running 3 shifts, operating their presses almost continuously. And in that environment of rush production and high volume, quality control, while still good by most standards, had occasional lapses. And this coin slipped through during one of those lapses, but calling it a slip through doesn't even begin to capture the magnitude of what happened here. First, and this is absolutely extraordinary, this 1940 S. Jefferson nickel was struck on a planchet intended for a quarter, not a dime like the 1976 we discussed earlier, but a full-size quarter planchet. Imagine that. A quarter planchet is 24.26 millimeters in diameter compared to the nickel's 21.21 millimeters. And it's made of a completely different composition. In 1940, quarters were 90% silver and 10% copper. So this coin is not only larger than a normal nickel, but it's also made of silver, making it what's called a transitional error or wrong denomination error. And these are among the rarest and most valuable errors in all of numismatics. When the Jefferson nickel die struck this quarter planchet, the entire design fit onto the planchet with blank space around the edges. You can see the complete Jefferson portrait, complete Liberty, complete date 1940, and complete In God We Trust on the obverse, with actual blank silver showing in a ring around the design. And on the reverse, you can see complete Monticello, complete E Pluribus Unum, complete 5 cents, complete United States of America, and the S mint mark, all surrounded by that same ring of blank silver planchet. It's visually stunning, like looking at a normal Jefferson nickel that's been placed in the center of a larger silver coin. And the contrast between the struck design and the mirror-like silver field around it creates an effect that's absolutely mesmerizing. Second, this coin exhibits what's called a rotated die error, meaning that one of the dies, in this case the reverse die, was installed in the press at the wrong angle, rotated approximately 180 degrees from its correct orientation. So when you hold the coin normally with Jefferson's portrait upright and then flip it over like you would turn a page in a book, Monticello is upside down. This type of error is called coin axis rotation when it's 180 degrees. And while it's not the rarest type of error, when combined with everything else happening on this coin, it adds another layer of impossibility to an already impossible piece. Third, and this is where things get truly insane, the coin shows evidence of a partial collar error in combination with everything else, meaning that the collar, that ring that's supposed to contain the planchet during striking and create the reeded edge, was either missing entirely or only partially engaged. So instead of having uniform thickness throughout, this coin has areas that are thicker and areas that are thinner. The edge is irregular, almost wavy in places, and because the quarter planchet was larger than what the collar was designed for, the metal flowed in unpredictable ways during striking, creating stress patterns and metal flow lines that are visible under magnification and that tell the story of the incredible forces at play when this coin was created. Fourth, the coin exhibits die deterioration doubling on both sides. This is different from a true double die, where the hub impression into the die is doubled. This is doubling that occurs when dies are used beyond their optimal lifespan, when they start to wear and shift slightly during striking, creating a shelf-like doubling effect on the design elements. And on this 1940 S nickel struck on a quarter planchet, you can see this doubling on Jefferson's hair, on the letters of Liberty, on the columns of Monticello, and on 5 cents. It's subtle but unmistakable once you know what you're looking for, and it adds yet another dimension of rarity to this already spectacular coin. Now, the discovery story of this coin is perhaps the most incredible of all the coins we've discussed today. It was found in 2001 by a woman cleaning out her deceased grandmother's attic in Sacramento, California. The grandmother had been a meticulous saver her entire life, keeping everything from old newspapers to buttons to coins. And in the attic, there were dozens of mason jars, coffee cans, and old purses filled with coins, mostly pennies and nickels. The granddaughter spent an entire weekend sorting through everything, separating wheat pennies from memorial pennies, pulling out buffalo nickels and mercury dimes, basically doing what most people do when they inherit old coins, trying to figure out what might be valuable. And she had gotten through about 20 containers where she opened an old leather coin purse that had been tucked inside a hat box. And inside that purse were maybe 30 or 40 nickels. Nothing special at first glance, but one of them was larger than the others, noticeably larger, and it was silver-colored instead of the normal gray of a nickel. She picked it up, turned it over in her hand, and immediately knew she was looking at something weird, something that didn't make sense, something that made her heart start beating faster, even though she couldn't articulate why. She took that coin, along with a few others that looked interesting, to a coin shop in downtown Sacramento, and when she handed them to the dealer, an experienced numismatist named Richard Chun, who had been in the business for over 30 years, he looked at the first few coins, gave polite assessments. That's a nice buffalo nickel, maybe $10 in that condition. Here's a 1943 P-War nickel, worth about $2 for the silver content, standard stuff, but when he got to that 1940s, when he really looked at it, he actually stood up from his chair, he picked up his loupe, examined the coin under magnification, then walked to the back of his shop without saying a word. The granddaughter said later that she thought maybe he was angry about something, maybe she'd done something wrong, but then he came back with a scale, weighed the coin, went back and got a caliper, measured the coin, went back again and got a silver testing solution, tested it, and then he finally looked at her and said, "Ma'am, I need you to sit down." And that's when she knew this was serious. Chun explained what he thought he was looking at. A Jefferson nickel struck on a silver quarter planchet with multiple additional errors. Something he had never seen before, something he'd never even heard of before, and he offered to help her get it authenticated and sold. Taking a small percentage for his services, she agreed, and within a week the coin was at NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, undergoing every test they could throw at it. X-ray fluorescence confirmed the 90% silver composition. Microscopic examination confirmed all. The errors were genuine and not post-mint damage or artificial alterations. The rotation was verified. The collar error was confirmed. Everything checked out. And NGC gave it a grade and a special designation noting all the errors, basically creating a pedigree for this coin that would follow it forever. The coin was first offered at auction in 2003, and the numismatic community went absolutely berserk. Error coin specialists, Jefferson nickel collectors, type coin collectors, silver coin collectors. Everybody wanted this coin. The pre-auction estimate was $500,000 to $1 million, which already would have been a record for a Jefferson nickel at that time. But when the bidding started, it blew past those estimates in the first 30 seconds. It went to $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million. The room was electric, phones were ringing, internet bids were coming in, and when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $12 million, absolutely shattering all records for a Jefferson nickel and making headlines in newspapers across the country. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible value journey. It was sold again in a private transaction in 2008 for $24 million, then again in 2015 for $41 million, each time setting new records, each time generating renewed interest in error coins and Jefferson nickel specifically. In the most recent sale in mid-2024, a private collector whose identity has never been publicly revealed, but who is rumored to be a tech billionaire with a passion for rare coins, paid the absolutely mind-blowing sum of $75 million to acquire this piece, making it officially the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever sold, one of the most valuable coins of any type from the 20th century, and a price that puts it in the same category as the finest and rarest coins from American history. Now, what are the chances you might find a 1940 Jefferson nickel with similar errors? I'm not going to lie to you. The chances of finding the $75 million coin are zero. That coin is locked away in a climate-controlled vault, probably insured for more than most people's houses. But here's the thing. There are other valuable 1940 nickels out there that you absolutely should be looking for. Standard 1940 Jefferson nickels in circulated condition are worth maybe 10 to 50 cents depending on where, but in uncirculated condition, especially with full steps on Monticello, They could be worth $20 to $100 or more. There are several known double die varieties for 1940s, the most famous being the 1940s double die reverse that shows strong doubling on Monticello and 5 cents, and depending on the grade, these could be worth anywhere from $200 to several $1,000s. There are repunched mint mark varieties where the S shows evidence of being punched multiple times. These can add $50 to $300 to the value in nice grades, and any offset or strikes, even minor ones, are worth examining carefully because 1940s off-center nickels in good condition can bring $200 to $2,000 depending on how dramatic the error is. When you're searching through 1940 nickels, pay extremely close attention to size and weight. I cannot stress this enough. If you have a 1940s nickel that seems even slightly larger than normal, measure it. Use a caliper, use a ruler compared to other nickels, and if it's larger, get it checked immediately because you might have a wrong planchet error that could be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what it is. Look at the color too. Normal Jefferson nickels from 1940 are grayish due to the copper-nickel composition. If you have one that's brighter, shinier, more silver-looking, that could indicate it was struck on a different planchet, possibly a dime or quarter planchet, and that would make it extremely valuable. Use strong magnification, 15-20x minimum, and examine every detail. Look for doubling on the letters, numbers, and design elements. Look for die cracks, which are raised lines on the coin caused by cracks in the die. Look for die breaks, which are raised blobs of metal caused by pieces breaking out of the die. Look for any kind of rotation where the obverse and reverse don't align properly. All of these things add value. And the more errors a single coin has, the more exponentially valuable it becomes. And here's something else you need to understand. The coins we've talked about today, the $40 million 1994 P, the $58 million 1976 D, the $63 million 1941, and this $75 million 1940 S. These are the known specimens, the ones that have been discovered, authenticated, and sold, but error coins are still being found today. Every single year, people discover valuable errors in old collections, in inherited coins, in coins they got as change, in jars that have been sitting in closets for decades. There is absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make a discovery like this. All it takes is knowledge, which you now have, patience, which you need to develop, and a willingness to actually look at your coins instead of just spending them or letting them sit ignored in a drawer somewhere. Think about the people who found these coins. The bank teller in Michigan who noticed something odd about a 1994 nickel, the estate sale hunter in Colorado who bought a jar of coins for $25, the construction worker in Philadelphia who found an old safe behind a wall, the woman in Sacramento cleaning out her grandmother's attic. None of these people were professional numismatists. None of them had decades of experience. They were just regular people who paid attention, who took the time to actually look, who had the good sense to get unusual coins checked by experts instead of just assuming they were worthless. And their lives were changed forever because of it. So here's what I want you to do right now. Today, as soon as you finish watching this video, I want you to gather up every nickel you have in your house. Check your piggy banks, check your change jars, check your car, check your couch cushions, check that drawer in your kitchen where you throw loose change, check old purses and wallets, check anywhere coins might be hiding, and I want you to go through them. Actually look at each one. Check the dates. Check for anything unusual. Check the size. Check the weight if you can. Check for errors. And if you find anything that seems even slightly weird or unusual, take it to a coin dealer and get their opinion. It costs you nothing but a few minutes of time, and it could literally make you a millionaire. The incredible thing about coin collecting, especially error coin hunting, is that it's truly democratic. You don't need to be rich to get started. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need special access or connections. You just need knowledge and willingness to look. And after watching this video, you now have a knowledge. You know what to look for. You know which years are important. You know what kinds of errors add value. You know the stories of real people who made real discoveries. And now it's up to you to put that knowledge into action. Remember, somewhere out there, right now, at this very moment, there are valuable error coins sitting in circulation, sitting in old collections, sitting in attics and basements and storage units, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge and determination to find them. There are probably dozens of error nickels out there worth thousands or tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that haven't been discovered yet. And there's absolutely no reason why one of those coins couldn't be in your possession right now. You just have to look for it. The 4 coins we covered today, totaling up to an absolutely staggering combined value of $236 million, represent just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to valuable error coins. There are error quarters, error dimes, error half dollars, error pennies. The world of numismatic errors is vast and fascinating, and every single error coin has a story, has historical significance, has value that goes beyond just the money it might bring at auction. So thank you for sticking with me through this entire video. Thank you for taking the time to learn about these incredible Jefferson nickels. Thank you for being part of the coin hunting community. And remember, the next time you get a nickel and change, the next time you find coins in an old jacket pocket, the next time you're going through inherited items or cleaning out storage spaces, look at those coins, really look at them, because you might just be holding a fortune in your hands without even knowing it. And that fortune could change your life, could provide financial security for your family, could fund your dreams and goals, all because you took the time to pay attention to something most people ignore. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content about rare coins and valuable errors. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and drop a comment below telling me if you've ever found a valuable coin or if you're going to start checking your nickels after watching this. I read every single comment, and I love hearing your stories. Until next time, keep hunting, keep looking, keep learning, and remember, fortune favors those who actually pay attention to the coins in their hands. This has been the Coin Hunter, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to explore some incredible error pennies that could be worth even more than the nickels we discussed today. You won't want to miss it, so make sure you're subscribed, and happy hunting, everyone.